a lot going on in a position like that. And it's
by
funny,
the way he behaved,
yeah.
not the situation. It was the way he reacted to that situation.
And it's funny. It was just more keeping on top of the workload than actually improving the yard. It was not getting any better.
Why was walking away from a job, no notice, no final pay, nothing, the best decision ever made? Today in Leadership Herding Cats, we speak to Kyle, one of our cleaning technicians that told us just that. In his last job, the manager was such a prick, he said he had no choice but to leave. Let's speak to Kyle and find out why he said that was the case.
Leadership, it can be just like herding cats. Ever tried that before?
Okay, so today, Kyle, we're going to talk about your experience in your last position, which I believe you were a yard manager, wasn't it? Is that correct?
Well, I was a line supervisor in the
Right.
beginning, and I was being basically brought in to be the yard manager, yard
Right.
supervisor. So in the process of doing the job,
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
Okay. And that didn't pan out too well for you,
No.
did it? So it was probably a prime example of when you've had a bad manager, essentially. Can you give us a little bit more detail about how that all panned out?
So basically, there never was a yard supervisor.
Right.
There was only yardsmen that worked in the yard, but they left and they wanted to bring a yard supervisor in as a new position to manage the yard. I was advised to apply for the position. I wasn't told I got the position per se because they didn't want anyone else to know, but I was told I got the position. So I was brought outside to basically start managing the yard. When I first got outside the yard, I did realize I know why they've done this, because the yard was in a position where it was not getting any better, and because they had to bring in new staff to work in the yard, they needed somebody to manage them, because the previous people that worked in the yard worked in that yard for 10 years. So when you've got people with that experience, they could close their eyes and tell you where things are, and then you bring 2 new guys in, and you're talking a yard that has over 2,500 bathroom pods in there, finished and unfinished pods that need to be pulled out, delivered in certain orders and stuff. So it's a lot going on in a position like that. So I was brought out. I did in the beginning have some support from the supervisors from in the warehouse, but more of a fact that they were on the same page as what I was. Yeah, they had experience, but they didn't have the experience of the yard. So we were pretty much all in the same boat, trying to get the yard to a level that it could run sufficiently without spoon feeding everybody what they need to do. It was going okay. It was going all right, but it wasn't. It was more of we were getting the job done, but it wasn't getting better. My manager, my boss at the time, was sort of giving me the leeway, not blaming me for anything, but he wanted these improvements to happen. What was happening was I was trying to supervise, but then at the same time, they were expecting me to work the yard. So supervising and working the yard is very, very, very difficult to do. So I was getting the job done, but I wasn't improving the yard because I didn't have the time to actually do what I needed to do, because I wanted the position. I felt like I could do this. I could do this. I could do the position. So it was all about managing the deliveries, managing the carcasses that came into the yard, to go into the warehouse before pre-assembly and stuff like that. All the completed pods where they go out in the yard, getting the pods ready for next delivery days, and so on and so on. It's managing all of that. And it there's no sort of time scale on when people come in and when people come to collect, and it was just all over the place. So out of the blue, a lorry could turn up with carcasses that need to be unloaded and put in an area that need to be ready to get going to the warehouse, but it could be from now to 3 months later when it goes into the warehouse. It's just all over the place. And then you've got pods that are completed that are coming out the warehouse, but they basically about 100, I would say about 30 to 40 pods a day completed bathroom pods coming out of the warehouse that need to be shrink wrapped, taken off the loading bay, and staged in a yard by the same pods.
Yeah.
So it was a hell of a job. But yeah, that's basically what I was doing, is trying to manage. And progress was happening, but the output was so much. It was just more keeping on top of the workload than actually improving the yard to the standard.
So obviously that didn't end well, otherwise you wouldn't be here today. No. So what was the sort of trigger point? What happened to make you realise, because you just said yourself, you wanted the job, you felt like you could do the job and improve how things were working on the yard. So what happened to change your mind?
So it sort of all started going downhill the last week I was there, where this really wasn't a trigger point, but this was sort of an indicator of how things are going. So the yard closes at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
If deliveries aren't there at 5 o'clock, I need to shut the gate. We're going home. The yard's closed.
Yeah.
So a delivery was ready to come in. What were they doing? They were coming to collect pods for next day delivery. Gate was closed. 5 o'clock, like I was supposed to close. Go home. I went home. Next day, I find out a delivery came back at 5:30 to come and collect the load. And someone within the warehouse told the managers I sent that lorry away so I could go home.
Yeah.
And that was sort of an indicator of like, I found out. So now they're basically pointing fingers and trying to blame people for stuff that wasn't right. And then when I actually explained it to my boss, then he basically, well, okay, fine. It's not what I heard, but we'll investigate it. And then once he said I'll investigate it, I never heard anything back from it.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized they knew they were in the wrong, because if they were in the right, they would have pulled me back in the office and said, well, this is what we did. But the fact that they said we'll investigate it, and then I heard nothing from it, I knew straight away, you guys knew you were in the wrong. Yeah. Because now you just basically, well, let's forget about it.
Yeah.
So that was, I believe, the Tuesday. The Friday came, so there were supposed to be 5 deliveries ready for Friday collection. Basically what we did was try and prep the day before. So have the deliveries ready in the delivery lane, so when a delivery lorry comes we can just load straight away. And these pods have to be loaded in the correct order, like exact numbers. So for example, it could take 4 hours finding 6 pods.
Wow.
And then I've got to find 6 loads.
Yeah.
And one person has to do it. So I've really got to plan it out. So what I would normally do is I would go out in the yard, find the pods, mark them, and then I would tell the forklift driver where the pods are so he can just go and pull them out. But sometimes you're pulling out 10 pods out of one lane just to get to the first pod.
To the one you want.
And then 3 more will be down that side of the yard, 2 more will be down that side of the yard. That's why it could take time, because it's never in the same area, because they will build 600 pods, but then out of the 600 pods, when they want to deliver 6, they want 1 to 600, but they want 495 to 501 first. Then they want 6 to 12 second. So it's all and how the forklift drivers are, they'll put it where there's a space. So it's never in order. So I had a plan to prep these pods. I had 5 loads ready, but load 6, I didn't have time to do it, is because the supervisors that were in the warehouse took my forklift drivers off the jobs they were supposed to do to get the jobs that they wanted to do without even speaking to me about it. Basically just walkie-talking them, so go and do this, but without telling me that the supervisors have told them to go and do another job, whilst I was getting him to prepare the loads for the next day. So I wasn't told this. The next day comes, 5 of the deliveries are ready. Luckily, the 5 deliveries got loaded, but that was like 1:30 last lorry got loaded. And then luckily, the 6th lorry that wasn't prepped didn't come and collect the load. And I said, that sort of plays in our favour because we didn't prep it, but luckily that he hasn't come to come collect the load. My boss comes out. You could sort of see he wasn't happy about the situation. It's more of the state of the yard, but he just didn't understand. And he found out that one of the loads weren't ready, and he absolutely lost it. But more of a fact that he lost it because he felt like he wasn't seeing any improvement in the yard. But at the same time, he didn't have a clue what was going in the yard. Yeah. He's at sort of one as numbers. I want to see improvement. You've got the manpower, do it. Yeah. Not sort of find out the problem. And he just absolutely lost it. But then at the same time, like we spoke about, if I know I'm in the right, I'm not going to shut up. I'm.
Oh, we know that.
Yeah, I'm not. I will absolutely lose it, but I absolutely lost it with him. And then I had my two supervisors that were supposed to be my main support stand right next to me. Yeah, and they didn't say a thing. And I didn't even throw them under the bus because I knew, like, I'm not that sort of person, but I knew deep down inside, I'm like, the reason why this load's not done is because of these two guys. Yeah. But I didn't tell him that. But then all I was telling him was basically, you don't have a clue what's going on out here. We've done what we can. We've done the output what we could. We're lucky. And the way he spoke to me was not professional. Yeah. There's a way to speak to somebody if you're angry in a professional work environment, and there's a way to speak to somebody if you want to not be professional. And he's supposed to be my boss, the person I look up to, the person I go to if I have a problem, the person I need if there's ever a situation. And then I have two supervisors that are supposed to give me the utmost support that I need. They didn't do nothing, and he basically blamed me for everything that's happening in the yard. So basically all the problems that were happening in the yard before I even went into the yard, he blamed them on me. Yeah. Whilst I was standing there. And then deep down inside I was like, if I'm not an angry person, but if I ever had anybody speak to me like that anywhere else, it would have been a very, very, very different situation. Yeah. But because I had to be professional, I acted professional, and I just took it. And I don't think he liked the fact that I was backchatting him about it, telling him he was wrong. And when that happened, I realized I can't work with someone like this. And I was just like, and I can't work for someone like this, and I can't work with two people. Because if I got that supervisor's job, I would have been in the same level as those two production supervisors. Yeah. And we've all been on the same level. So we would have had to have each other's backs no matter what's happening. Yeah. But that just shows that they didn't have my back. Yeah, there was nothing. They stood there and they let me take the absolute biggest bollocking I've ever seen a manager give anybody. And I thought it was a joke. I was laughing. Yeah. I thought it was the funniest thing ever because, like, how dare you speak to me like this? Yeah. It was great.
Do you think that comes down to more of a lack of from both sides? Obviously, the supervisors, the other supervisors, and essentially who was your boss. Do you think that comes down to more of a lack of respect than anything else? I think that's how I would take it.
It's so difficult to see why that happened. I've seen him go off at people, but every time he's gone off at someone, he's always been right about it. You can't argue with him. No. Like when production lines haven't met their targets and why they haven't met their targets, but I've given you all the staff that you needed and all of this, and why you're not doing this, and why is this person... I've seen it happen, and he's never really had a go at me about things, but I've seen him do it to other people. But then I'll be like, yeah, but you haven't done this. I've seen... But for some reason, I just don't know why he snapped that bad. Yeah. And just, I don't know. And it wasn't that much of a problem. It wasn't. It's not our fault the lorries didn't turn up. But luckily we didn't have that load prepped. But that just sort of showed me, like, if I did stay and take this job, what happens if there was a real problem? Yeah. That could have been cost worthy to the company and would have cost them money, then what would that blow up look like when this one's this bad?
Yeah.
That's that sort of, so I don't know. I think it was more of the fact that he didn't understand. And it was more of the fact that I was pointing him out in front of everybody else that he doesn't understand. And I don't think anybody's ever told him, you don't understand what's going on. Yeah. And I don't think he liked that.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be the main dog. He's supposed to be the one that knows it all. And now someone's actually telling him, you don't have a clue what's going on. And I don't think he liked it. But I didn't care. He didn't.
No.
He just thought his idea was, well, if I put more people on it, it'll fix itself.
Yeah, but that's not the case, is it?
That's you've got the overtime. Yeah. It will be fine.
Yeah.
You've got the other supervisors out here now. It should be fine. You've got another forklift driver. It should be fine. And that's the way he saw things. But that yard was, I cannot emphasize how happy I am I left that company. I cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy. It was the best feeling, because once that happened and I walked away, I was like, stuff this job. I quit.
Yeah.
Stuff it. I don't care if they give me a bad referral. I don't care. Stuff this company.
Yeah.
From a manager to just walk out and say, stuff this job. No notice, nothing. I quit.
Yeah.
I cannot. Don't want your apology. Never spoke to any of them again. I speak to one guy, which I'm friends with, still at the work, and it's not getting any better.
Yeah.
There's no progress. It's sort of getting worse. So I'm sort of like lifting my chest up and saying stuff you.
But, well, I mean, credit where it's due for standing by your own morals as much as anything else, isn't it? Because, I mean, you could stand by, you could have left it a little bit longer, see if it improved and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think we all have to decide what we will and won't accept.
Yeah.
You could kind of criticize all day long with the different things, but with the way it was dealt with, personally, I think, and don't get me wrong, I'm someone that does suffer from anger at times. I'm quite passionate about things, and I will quite often react. Chimp paradox, they call it, don't they? So you instantly react without engaging the brain. So I'll do that at times, more so years ago than now. But a management style like that is very narrow-minded, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because essentially, and obviously it's our gain, you've joined the company here since doing that, but essentially he's lost a really capable person. And it's by funny, the way he behaved, not the situation, it was the way he reacted to that situation. Before we dive too deep into this week's podcast, I want to tell you a little bit about our sponsors, which is Vapor Clean Commercial Cleaning Services. Vapor Clean provides commercial contract cleaning throughout the Southwest. If you run a business with premises that needs cleaning on a daily basis, then we can provide that service for you regularly, sufficiently, and consistently to the highest standard. We provide trained professional operatives that are audited and supported the right way, making sure you have the highest standards all year round. So if you want to know more, get in touch. But for now, back to the podcast.
Yeah, and it's funny because I worked at that company, and it was within 6 months I was going for a supervisor role.
Yeah.
So my progress within that company was climbing dramatically.
Yeah.
And they could see that, and they knew it. And I don't like blowing smoke up my ass. I don't. But
really,
I like being the best.
Yeah.
And it's not the fact that I want to be the best because everyone's going to run around and be like, oh, Carl's. It shows how I am as a person. I want to be the best. I don't be the best to beat everybody else. I like going home knowing I've done a bloody good job today.
Yeah.
And sort of that's like every position I've ever gone into, it's always been so good because my progression has been so quick within companies, because it's always I do what I can, but it's the best I can as well. And that's what a lot of companies like to see. It's not the fact that he's all right, he's done the whatever. But companies like to see that he's done the best that he can, because what more can you do if that's the best you can do?
Well, that's all you can do, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's the thing. And if you, especially when you take in that time frame, the amount of time you were then doing that role and everything else, even if that manager believed you had done that wrong, all of that should have been taken into account, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, take that into account. And I think that is a really important trait of any manager, is having a look at the whole situation and essentially first looking at themselves and seeing, well, could I have done more? Is there anything else that's needed? You've heard me say multiple times, we've been talking about it today, about things that we haven't done, you know, maybe training that we need to increase on and stuff like that to help people do their jobs. And ultimately, if he's reacted to that situation, the first thing, or he's seeing that situation, he's not happy about it, the first thing he should be doing is why? Well, why is this happened? Yeah.
This is like, it's how management should be done.
Yeah.
If there's a problem, investigation, then talking. His problem was problem, talking, no investigation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now he's talking about something he knows absolutely nothing about.
Yeah.
But he's talking to us like he knows more than us about it.
Yeah.
But then if he did a little bit of investigation, he would have found out that the two supervisors that were supposed to be helping me took the guy off that was supposed to be doing the job to get loaded. And he would have found that out. And it would have been that simple. But he didn't want to investigate.
No.
And because these two guys enjoyed basically praising him, they were too scared to say anything about it. Because he was angry, they were too scared.
That's it, and that's the thing as well. And a lot of people don't always have the confidence to step up and, as you said, like you did, to draw a line and say, well, no, that's not right. This is the way it is. This is the way the situation happened. Do you, and obviously I know you've said that you're quite happy that you're not there and you're happy that you left. If you were to be in the same situation next week, next year, would you deal with the situation in the same way?
I felt like I did nothing wrong, because I was trying to explain the situation, and I didn't even shout or scream or moan. I still spoke to him in a perfectly good toned voice. It was him that's. I don't think I would have changed anything. This is the thing. It's like I haven't thought about it, but I thought about it for a very, very, very long time, and I kept on saying, I did nothing wrong. I stood there and I told him in this voice, you're wrong, because you don't know what you're talking about. And he's the one effing and screaming and this and that. And it's so weird, because I've always found out, like, if you got one guy that's screaming and effing and blinding and stuff, and you got one guy that still speaks in his basic, that one's going to get even more angry.
They get angrier,
and
absolutely.
Angry, because I'm not getting angry. I'm more of a, like, it's not that I don't want to get angry, it's the fact that I can't get angry. I'm professional. I cannot. So it's the anger could easily, because it's like I said, if we were anywhere else, I would have got angry. I can't. But now that I'm in a professional working environment, I've got to be professional. I'm a manager. I cannot get angry. So that's why. But he lost it. So he already lost the battle by acting the way he did. I don't think I would have done anything wrong, anything different. I don't think I would have thrown people under the bus. I could have easily said, speak to them, to them why this is not loaded. Then that's basically throwing them under the bus. I wouldn't have done that. All I basically said was, I'm not taking the blame for this, and you don't have a clue on what's going on out in this yard. And that's all I said, but in a lot more words. I don't even think I swore that whole conversation. But
so after that situation, did that sort of change your perspective on being in management? No. I think he was just a bit of a prick. I could easily go and be a manager. I love the management. I think I've always been a good sort of
person in that position because I sort of know what to do, and it takes a lot for me to lose my control when it comes to a situation that needs to be handled in a management style on the investigation of why this has happened. And I'm quite good at speaking to people and making them... The way I'm saying this now is not the fact that I enjoy making people feel bad, but when someone's done wrong, you'll have more of an impact towards them if you spoke to them in a calm voice and making them realize what they've done is wrong, than actually shouting at them about it. Because if you shout at them about it, they're going to turn around and walk and go, F that guy. I don't care. Screw that.
Yeah.
But if you talk to them normally, like, listen, this is what you've done wrong, they'll walk out and be like, well, you wasn't nasty to me, it just made me feel bad because I've done something wrong.
Yeah.
You have more of an impact doing that. I've always been good at that.
And I think that's important as well, isn't it? Because it is very much a case of people need to understand what they've done is wrong. Yeah. Especially if it's something that is, completely unacceptable, but also why. So they have an understanding that it can't be tolerated, but they just also, like you say, they feel that it can't be.
It needs to be taken on board.
Yeah,
they can't have that attitude after that situation like F this.
Because I think if you're angry with someone, and again I've just said, I'm guilty of it in the past myself, but if you're angry at someone and you express what they've done wrong through anger, they're instantly going to put a barrier up anyway, whether it's them reacting in anger or just shutting down completely. So you have to try and put the point across in such a way that they understand and they feel some sort of emotion about it. Yeah. Because ultimately, I think what you should always want is that a team would learn and grow and develop into something better.
You want the emotion to go to what they did. You don't want the emotion to come back to you.
No, because it's not going to move anything forward, isn't it? And again, going back to the same situation, by him getting angry at you, it wasn't solving an issue. There was no finding a solution.
He's basically created more of a problem now because I walked out.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
created a big problem.
Yeah, it's just escalated it all.
It wasn't the fact that he just lost a yard supervisor; he lost a line manager. Yeah. Because I could manage those lines, every single line in that warehouse.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So if you were in his shoes, what do you think could have been? Do you think it was a situation that could have been dealt with before that, or is it more that sort of situation? What would you have done in that situation?
Investigation. Yeah. Just a bit more investigation. Why did this happen? There's 2 other guys that's supposed to be out in this yard with me working. Ask them. There's a lot more that could have been done. But all he wanted to do was point a finger and blame somebody. Yeah. That's his main purpose out of that whole situation. Was the yard's the way it is. It's not getting better. You're to blame. Yeah. Because now I've put you outside. I put you out in the yard for 4 or 5 weeks now. It should have been better, but it's not better. You're the reason why. Yeah. There's no, well, let's all sit down and investigate. Why is it not getting better?
Yeah. So, and when you walked away, obviously, for one, that must have been a little bit concerning. At least you're walking away from a paid job.
Didn't care.
No?
Didn't care.
It got to that point.
I know my skill set and I know the way I am. Yeah. I'll get a job like that. I'm not, once again, not like you spoke up and asked, but any company will be lucky to have me as an employee.
You'll be asking for a pay rise next.
But I've always been like that. Right? I've always been so confident in myself that I've never worried about anything. Yeah. You may be back in the past and stuff, but the past sort of, I can't really say when, but ever since I've left the job, every time I've left the job, there's always been reasons why I've left the job. But I've always been confident in myself, like, I'll get a new job. I don't care.
So what went through your mind, even with that then? Were you thinking, right, this time I want X, Y, and Z. I'm going to make sure that I get this type of boss, this type of team, this type of person. What went through your mind to sort of think about that?
So when I left, there was no real plan. It was sort of just see what's out there.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in sort of mobile cleaning in somewhat when it comes to window cleaning, car valeting, sort of that sort of area. I've always been like, yeah, it could be fun.
Yeah.
Give me the job. I'll go do it. I do it on my time. Not my time, the time we're given. But it's up to me to do a good job. I don't have to rely on 10 other people. And if something goes wrong, it's my fault. Because I didn't manage 10 other people properly. I know that's what happens now with us technicians in the office and stuff, but I've always wanted to do that. So I was always looking down that route. But then it was funny how this job came up, because I did apply for a few jobs, but I did go for a job interview where I would have become a gym equipment specialist. So I'd go around the southwest area fixing gym equipment and like high class gyms and stuff. But I went for the interview, and once again the job has to sort of fit my lifestyle as well. I can't have a job because I've got a young son. It's important for me to be at home as much as I can, and that the job sounded amazing, but the hours were just like I'd wake up at 4 and be home at 8 every day. It was just like, no. And straight after the interview, Kimberly phoned me and told me about this job. Interview sounds great. And then when I heard about it, it was just like, I want to do it. Sounds perfect.
So was there anything in particular though that you kind of, because for me, I believe every situation should teach you a lesson. You should always, if nothing else, and it's my turn to sound arrogant now, but I have no regrets about my life whatsoever. You know, I'm 38 years old. I don't regret anything I've ever done. But the only reason I don't regret anything is because I've learned from everything. And I don't believe I would be where I am now if I hadn't done that. And, you know, if did it differently, it would all pan out differently and everything else. So I don't regret any of it. So I learned from every situation. But did you walk away and think, you know, well, that's what I've learned from that. That's what I want sort of differently. Was there anything, obviously I know you say you were looking more about the job, you were interested in that sort of area, but for me, I probably would have said, I wouldn't want to work for a prick like that again.
Oh yeah,
you know,
that's one thing. But the thing is like that, it's like, I've worked for a lot of people, but I've never come across one that bad. So it's not the fact that I would want to never work for a guy like that again. It'll be a long time before I come across a guy like that. And that's why I didn't really think of that, because there's very, very few of people like that. So I didn't think like, oh yeah, I would never work for somebody like that again. It's more of good riddance. Because he's just like, the way he is, I've never met a guy like that. For him to be supporting me as much as he did, to instantly turning around and blaming me on the huge mess that the yard was in, I was just like, you're ridiculous. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's why when I walked away, I never thought to myself, like, even when I was going for all other jobs, like looking around, not one thing went in my head like, oh, I don't want my boss to be a prick like him again. Because I know I would never run into a guy like that again. Because it took me from 18 till 33 to run into somebody like that. So how long is it going to take me to run into another person like that? So that's why I never thought about, I knew I'll probably never run into somebody like that again, because I hate negative people. People are so like, anything that sort of can negative my life is stay away. Positive, anything positive, please bring it in. But if you're going to be a negative impact on my life, and if I'm going to think about negative people, like I don't want to work for someone that negative. I don't want to be with someone that negative. That's basically making me think negative. So don't think negative. Just push it aside and forget about it.
Well, they say that you end up being like the 5 people that you spend the most time with, don't they? So, you know, I agree with that. I can't. That's what they reckon. And I just, I can't stand negativity and all the rest of it. There's everything else. So, would you have any advice for anyone that was potentially in a similar situation? you know, maybe has come across that? Obviously, you walked away.
Stand your ground.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're right, stand your ground. That's one thing I always tell people. It's like, if you know you're in the right, don't let somebody walk all over you.
Yeah.
If you feel like you have something to say it. Not just because you want something to say, but stand your ground. Yeah. That's one thing I always try and do, is if I know I'm right,
yeah,
you'll be the one getting angry, not me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to back down.
I suppose it stick to the facts as much as anything else as well, isn't it? Especially if you know that the facts are on your side.
Yeah.
Put the point across as much as anything else, and potentially if you have to walk away, you have to walk away.
Yeah, and if you're unhappy, leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's if you're not happy, why are you still there?
Yeah.
This is the way I see it. If something's making you unhappy, the only person that's going to fix it is you.
Yeah.
So don't complain. It's one thing I don't like is when people are in situations where they're not happy, they express they're not happy, but they're still in that position.
Yeah.
Just walk away.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing you can do, is just walk away. If you're not happy, walk away.
And I think, obviously, your situation escalated very quickly. If you've got a situation that is maybe spanning over a longer time frame, you can, like you say, you can take that to someone, you can try and deal with the situation, trying to improve it. But if it's not improving, and even if it's just all promises being made, eventually you have to know it's time to leave and move on and stop the negativity and the bad feelings. Eventually it'll get better.
It's one of the reasons why I've left. I end up leaving some of the jobs is because I want progression. I need progression. It's how I sort of strive in a job. I don't work to be my best, to sort of just stay in one position. I sort of want to see progression. It's nice. And it's why I end up leaving other jobs, because I get all these promises said to me, but then I get to a point where I realize nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if I just keep staying, I'm just going to be in this position.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same. So it's either get out now and go find something else to do, or complain in the next 5 years in the same position that you're in, and what you could have done 5 years ago.
Yeah. And that's it. And ultimately, you're the only one that's in control of your life, isn't it? Yeah. And that's the thing. I think we all have to remember that we're the ones that control as cheesy as that sounds, we're the ones that control our own destiny. And that's why we're trying to do it. Yeah, stop blaming other people, make a decision. And sometimes that decision is the hard one to make, like walking away.
That wasn't hard.
Well, no.
One of the easiest decisions ever made.
By the sounds of it, one of the best. So that's good all the way around. Brilliant. Right, Carl, thank you very much for your time. It's been great to listen to the story and learn something about it. Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks to Kyle for explaining a bit more about what he went through. It was great to hear. But we'd also like to hear from you too. If you've been in a similar situation, or maybe you're a manager and has had someone walk out on you, why not leave a comment, drop us an email and get in touch. Tell us your stories so we can improve these episodes every single week. And that reminds me, click subscribe to catch us next week on the next episode of Leadership Herding Cats.